Here we are doing another one of our Tea Partiers guides to Washington. And this is just so ironic. We're in Foggy Bottom, which is a neighborhood where the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund and the State Department and the Interior Department are, and also George Washington University. This is the General Services Administration, famously in the news this week. And what's really interesting about the General Services Administration, and I can't decide if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but it is this massive building. It extends a block that way, it extends a block in that direction, and it has no central air. In fact, if you look here, you will see that the General Services Administration building actually has single pane windows. They're not double pane windows, they're not thermal. And as you can see, you can probably see, I can see, the frame of the windows, at least on this floor, and it looks to me like it's true all the way up, are actually wood. It's painted and it's peeling and warped. So in other words, what we were talking about is, I presume, a massively, they're the basement floors, also window units. It's a massively energy inefficient building with single pane windows that leak, large single pane windows that leak heat and cool and cold like a sieve. And oh, this is really funny. This one, this window unit, you can see there, it has a bird's nest has been built underneath it. And there's a security camera watching me as I, beside the air conditioning unit as I film. Anyway, what's amazing about that is Citizens Against Government Waste just came out with their annual pork study. I forget what it's called. It has some kind of pig reference in it. And the General Services Administration is, you know, a recent famous case of waste. But Tom Schatz, I believe is his name, the guy who runs the group Citizens Against Government Waste, was actually talking about how this kind of weatherization green program that even under Bush had been getting like $250, I think, million. It had been expanded by 20 times in the stimulus bill that Obama let the Democratic Congress cobble together. Oh, there's another bird's nest underneath an old window unit. In fact, a lot of them look like they've got bird's nests built underneath them. Anyway, I guess the government workers really never disturb them, so it's a safe place for a bird to be, because there's no real activity. It's all happening in Las Vegas. Anyway, the Obama administration expanded the weatherization program, and it went up from $250 million, which had been pre-Obama, pre-stimulus, and under stimulus it went up to $5 billion. So it expanded by 20 times. Now, what's odd about that is, if they're spending 20 times as much on weatherization, or at least they have it set aside in some kind of slush fund, and in Grover Norquist's new book, Grover Norquist, who runs Americans for Tax Reform, in his new book, Debacle, that he wrote with, I think it's John Lott Jr., he actually shows, he has tables, that the only thing where stimulus money is spent, the only thing it correlates with, is the percentage of Democrats in a congressional district's congressional delegation. It does not correlate with unemployment. It doesn't correlate with any kind of proven need for the money. It doesn't correlate with anything except how many Democrats you have in your congressional delegation. So if you have a lot, you're likely to have gotten a lot of stimulus money, and if you don't have any, you were unlikely to get any. Because it's basically just Congress cobbling together every earmark they'd ever wanted to give out to their cronies, who give them campaign donations, and in exchange for that, they called that stimulus. But it actually wasn't in any way targeted at infrastructure or unemployment or any kind of actual need that government allegedly is taxing us all to fund. It just went to buy votes. And that must be why, either maybe DC, of course, doesn't really have a congressperson. It has a delegate to Congress, and she is a Democrat. But I think DC's vote is not considered important because well, first of all, it doesn't have an electoral college vote, but also, DC's vote, basically it's a teeny state, it's already Democratic, it doesn't count, it's not even really a state, it doesn't have an electoral college vote. So that must explain why out of the $5 billion for weatherization, none of it made it here. So we have this giant office building that has these beaten up old window units, and as you can now see, it is an office building that takes up an entire large city block. Over there in the distance, the kind of antique 19th century building you see with the clouds above it, that's the old executive office building. The White House is right on the other side. You can see that it's typical in this neighborhood for buildings, office buildings, to be much more modern like that one. And actually down this way, you have a bunch of more modern buildings. They're all, most of them are part of the World Bank or affiliated with the World Bank. But here you have the General Services Administration again. And the General Services Administration, which we're going to walk around, it takes up a large city block. We won't even be able to walk all the way around it in 10 minutes. But it has single pane windows. They're not even double pane. They're not thermal windows. And it has these old window units all the way up. Everywhere, no central air. It has these old window units that have birds' nests built behind them. And here, it looks like in the middle of the General Services Administration, we even have a section that must be being renovated because the windows are all boarded up, and inside you can see 2x4s and studs and beams. But it's not an empty building. Most of it is being used. Here's a light on. Somebody's got a girly calendar, girly poster on the door there. I think you can see it across from the clock. I would assume that actually under current law, putting up a bosomy girly poster on your door, even if it's like some kind of storage closet that not that many people get into, is potentially legally actionable sexual harassment, that you are making the workplace unfriendly. Somebody will have to go in there eventually who will feel bad that you have up a picture of a girl you don't know whose tits you're looking at every time you open the door. It'll make her feel uncomfortable. Or maybe it'll make him feel uncomfortable. Who knows? Maybe the hard hat people are doing it, but if they are doing it, they're working for the General Services Administration, and actually the General Services Administration may have its own hard hat people. So I think we found a section of the building that they must be renovating. I can actually hear the window units humming, though. Maybe they're finally getting around to putting in central air. I may have to Google this and look it up. But on the other side of the building where we started, it certainly looks to me like they are working in there. Now this one entrance says construction entrance, but the other entrances are the ones I think where those people were on the news all week dressed as a mind reader and a clown, and they were standing outside. Maybe this sign will tell us more about what the money's being spent on. But it's just very curious that if we need to spend money to make things energy efficient. Recovery in progress. So they're spending their own money, GSA. They're spending their own money to do something. Presumably, I think I actually met this Shalom Barani's person once. Presumably they're spending money, they are going to put in central air. So maybe this is part of where the $5 billion in weatherization money is going. It's going to give GSA its own central air after decades of not having it, even though everybody else in the neighborhood does. Hard to tell. There's a different building across the street. Hi!
Okay, if you're taking pictures of the federal building here, you can't do that.
On a sidewalk.
I know, but I saw you taking pictures of the federal building here.
Yeah. Well, I'll stop, but I actually think that's probably not